Merci beaucoup, Laure, and welcome to the LEC post-game lobby after week 4. Machine, I'm joined by Yamatocannon and soon Carzzy and Mac from Mad Lions, who will be celebrating their victory, likely with smiles pasted over their face. Yamato, we have had so many bloody surprises this week. I was just listening them off to you to fact-check it. It's like we've seen Fnatic go down, Misfits beat G2, Excel's win versus Origin. We just saw Schalke today beat G2. What's going on?
Honestly, it's been a crazy, crazy week. What's going on? Honestly, I don't know. G2, with the game, like the games that they lost, it wasn't necessarily that they trolled. I don't think you can brush it off as that, because I think definitely today they went for the Ornn. I think that's the most try-hard pick that you can pick, even though I disagree with it against Ezreal. I think there's a lot of things that G2 need to refocus on, and you need to put this whole idea into question that maybe they took it a bit too loose, and maybe we have awoken the new beast.
Well, perhaps the new beast is the rookies of the LEC. What do you make of that? I mean, like, it seems like the words that just came out of the interview there was, it took a while for us to all get on the same page. Do you think that's like the genuine conversation, that it could just take rookies a while to just get their heads right for the LEC?
For sure. I think getting accustomed to the LEC schedule, the stage, and everything around it is definitely a part of the process. I'm pretty certain that there are clear differences between the LEC and the ERL leagues, and I think this is something that comes with time. I think Mad Lions is a living proof. I think also Misfits is a living proof, considering how crazy their first kind of performance was. I think the trajectory of both of these teams is growth, and I think, you know, as a fan of the European League, this is just everything that we can hope for.
I mean, it was what Quickshot was saying just at the end of that cast. He's saying, like, last season or last split, it was like every game matters. It got to that point because you can get to, you know, it can be week 4 and we'll get to week 8 talking about, oh, that week 4 loss, you know, those wins versus the Fnatics, the G2s. You play them twice, you've already got a win under your belt. That makes, like, these are big opportunities for the likes of Misfits and now Mad Lions to make a deeper run, right? By taking the scalp of such a high contender.
For sure, and like considering, looking at the scoreboard, how close we are. Okay, the gentlemen are joining us.
Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening. Very nice game. Very nice to meet you, Carzzy. Mac I've met before, but Carzzy is the first time.
Hey, guys, come on.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry. That was very un-British of me, wasn't it?
What are you doing? I've heard the accent, clearly a lie. Mac and Carzzy joining us. And actually, you can just jump straight into this conversation. We can hear your perspectives on it. Me and Yamato were just talking, obviously, about your game, and congratulations to you. That's a huge win. I've got so many questions to ask you. But like, let's start from the game itself. It's obviously fresh in your mind. Carzzy, we've been painting this parallel between your battle versus Reckless, this seasoned veteran, and you know, having the same kind of drive coming into the LEC. Must feel great to pick up a win versus Fnatic.
Yes, it definitely feels great. I'm kind of sad though, because I couldn't really show how good I am in this game. There was just a lot of macro and not really a lot of mechanical outplays. And
okay, so Mac, as the coach of this player, who's just said, yeah, I mean, I'm not particularly happy about being Fnatic because it was macro. How do you feel about that?
I mean, feels nice to hear, but I think Carzzy's being really humble, because actually a lot of the calls, he made some really, really good calls this game. Like,
awesome.
I think one of the biggest things that as a rookie player people often lack is not mechanics, like, obviously, in a lot of cases. I think even with some of the kind of lower tier teams that have a lot of rookie players, they're not lacking for mechanics at all. It's more kind of composure and shot calling, and that's something that I think Carzzy actually has been making a lot of improvement on and did really well. Like, for example, the game against, which was the game you played, Kaiser? Rogue, yeah. Like the Rogue game, Carzzy was calling literally everything that game, really aggressively. Well, not everything, but like he was a super, super firm, confident, aggressive voice in the team, and that's exactly what we needed then. And I think that's part of what makes our team good.
So, Carzzy, question for you is, you know, I always wonder when I'm watching and hearing words like this, interviews like this, I always wonder, you know, how do you practice better communication? You know, I mean, this is something, it feels like a skill that just comes naturally with experience. But if this is something you're making improvements in that are being noted by your coach, how? How are you practicing communication and getting better at communication in game?
so I think, like, you can practice communication by getting.
Or how do you improve is a better question.
It helped me a lot when I used to know my teammates better, because when you trust people, you also talk a lot more. And when you...
Can we get some water? There's one way there, actually, Mac.
Yeah, I'm actually... I'm dried out.
Yeah, dude, yeah. You've been playing a hard game of League of Legends. Take your time, take your time.
So basically, like, it's a lot easier when you know the people. And most of the rookies or players that are not self-confident, when you call something, you're scared of making mistake.
Being judged for the call?
Yeah. And I think when everything goes aside and you just want to improve, you need to make bad calls so you can learn from them.
Damn, Yamato, I see a nod. That sounds about right.
I think confidence is the key part.
Yeah.
I think even though I don't know you personally, your demeanor comes across as very confident, loose on stage. You seem to be at home there. And I think with that confidence, you have the confidence to make the calls. And I think in the beginning, when you're starting off your career, you make some calls, you make a few mistakes, and then eventually you kind of build. You bolster that confidence to make the right call. And I think it starts with having the confidence to try in the first place. I think Carzzy sits right at home at the LEC.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No doubt about it. Looking forward to seeing more from you. Mac, a question kind of more on the coaching side of things, because, I mean, first things first, transitioning from assistant to coach, does that make a big difference to losing the assistant? Do you feel like the role is a different role? Or is it simply just a question of job title at this point?
It was a step up,
Yeah.
obviously, but I think I've been really lucky in that I had the opportunity to work with some really great coaches in the past.
Yeah.
And I got to see all of the things that they did really well and also some of the things that they struggled with. And I think because of that, I was able to put myself in a position this year where I have really good people around me to back me up and to make up for all of my shortcomings, actually.
No, this is a perfect kind of layup. I don't watch basketball. I think that's the right analogy. But that's a perfect layup for what I wanted to kind of ignite between the two of you, Mac and Yamato, because I wanted to think about hello. That was yesterday. I wanted to ask, are coaches communicating? Because it's such a new role, and you just kind of given me the answer there, that you are kind of observing, if not communicating, how to do this job better. Because I'm sure there are some universal, coaching standards that are lessons you can learn through failure in the same way the players do, right? Like, are you looking at other coaches, talking to them about how they do it, what you can do better, or is it it stays in the competition refined state?
I think talking to other coaches, I don't know if you had a similar experience, but I always found that it's quite difficult to actually get really honest, genuine opinions from other coaches, because everyone's very guarded, and that's natural because you're in a competitive industry. And so you view your craft as kind of your trade secrets, especially because it's such a young industry. The people who are at the top are a long, long, long way above
makes a lot of sense.
Everyone else. So actually people are quite jealous about guarding their knowledge. But as I said, I got to work with Duke last year and Peter for the last 2 years as well, and Duke the year before as well. So I think the three of us have boosted each other up a lot and gained a lot from each other, which has been
Now,
I
you just said you don't want to share your trade secrets, but I mean, I am asking just for a little peek behind the curtain. What were some of the lessons you learned and pulled from your time with the others? If there's one that stands out, that would sate my hunger.
The biggest one that I've learned over the last 3 years, I think, is empathy. I think it's really easy to look at a player and say, oh, well, that was stupid, how could he make that mistake? Or, oh, he's bad at this champion, or he's bad at this part of the game, or whatever it is. But it's really hard to put yourself in that person's shoes and say, well, what's the context here? And why does the person feel the need to do this? Or why does the person not understand this? And that's something that I learned from Peter, because he's a really, really empathic person. And it's something that I think a lot of kind of analysts and pundits don't take into account. They look at a draft and say, well, why aren't you picking this champion? This is ridiculous. This champion's great. And it's like, well, it's not that simple, because different people have different strengths. And that's something that I learned to take into account a lot more over the last 2 years.
I think also, to echo the sentiment, I think with coaching in general, people always ask for, what is your coaching philosophy? What is your coaching idea? But from player to player, it always differs. Some people need a stern hand. Some people need to have some love. Maybe some people need more freedom. I think it's all about recognizing the needs of your players in order for him to fulfill his wildest imaginations, And I think empathy is a core point of that.
So it could be easy to fall into the trap of thinking a coach is, just moving chess pieces and they're just muscle and he is the commander. But there is a whole lot more of a human side to coaching, of understanding the humans. And for Carzzy, I mean, this must be quite an interesting jump for you to go from the rookie, the amateur circuit to LEC. Now you've got the coaching staff and a much more rigid structure. Could you kind of help us understand it? We have no idea how it feels to go from playing League of Legends in your boxer shorts at home and getting good at it, to now there's lights, cameras, I've got a jersey, they're paying me to play this video game. You know, like that must feel like, how was your first couple of days at the LEC? It must have just been like a complete new experience, no?
Yeah, I think the biggest change is that you have to meet new people every single day, basically.
Yeah.
And from the comfort of your home, you have to move and live out there in Berlin with other people.
Mm-hmm.
You need to respect each other and you need to learn how to tolerate each other. Well, I wouldn't say it was something different for me that much playing in LEC. I've played on this stage before, even before I played in LEC.
Of course.
Yeah. The biggest change from regional leagues is the level of professionalism, I would say.
Yeah. Universally? Do you mean just across the board?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you feel like everything just has a little more polish to it.
A lot.
But you're not feeling particularly, you know, this environment doesn't feel particularly different or more intimidating to anything else you've played in before.
Yeah, you get a lot more of time on the desk or like on the broadcast. You get to talk to the casters, talk to other teams more. You meet everyone. Well,
it's a whole new world, and I am learning a lot just in terms of the human interaction. Yes, I know, gamers, we weren't very good at social interaction, the basement dweller stereotype, but we're breaking it, and it's proving that if you want to be the best at video games, you have to be good at communicating with human beings. Who knew it? And I will communicate with you human beings to tell you that we have got the standings. Why don't we bring them up, and I'll pick the brains of these brainiacs to talk a little bit about it, because after a massive comeback, Misfits are now leading the LEC, along with G2 and Origin. Right at their heels, though, we've got Fnatic and Mad Lions, with Rogue all tied at 5 and 3. I bet that's a nice one to read, Mac. That's looking like a pretty good standings for the end of the week.
Not bad.
Not too shabby.
Could be better.
It certainly could. Yamato, which one's jumping off the page here? I mean, G2 being caught up, that's certainly one storyline. What other threads can we pull?
I think the big thing has always been the conversation of the top four, right? Rogue, Origin, and Fnatic and G2, but I think that conversation is wide open now. I don't think there's a clear top four. I think there's a clear top six. And we've seen games being taken from each and every other team, and I think the growth has been very, very clear, especially for Mad Lions and Misfits.
Yeah.
And that puts the whole perspective of the veteranship and also colliding with the rookieship. Is that the word?
It is now.
It is now, yes. That's kind of the rookieship. It's colliding, and you can see the trajectories looking bright and beautiful.
Yeah, and let me talk to Mr. Beautiful himself. Mac, not only am I flirting with you live on air, but no, the real question is, I make kind of homoerotic jokes when I'm thinking of my question. That's what's happening. The actual question was...
Okay, we all do it.
Yeah, exactly. The actual question was, you know, we were talking before while you guys were getting mic'd up, me and Yamato, and we were just talking about, you know, the idea of when we had a PGL with Misfits, they suggested they started to believe that they actually could contend this split. They were like setting their sights on summer, and then, you know, week 3 they decided perhaps we could actually do this now. Is there a similar kind of vibe in the Mad Lions camp, perhaps, that you believe that there's more progress than you're anticipating at this stage, in this juncture?
I was expecting it to be more tumultuous, should we say. I was expecting it to be a lot more up and down, whereas actually I feel that we're quite a consistent team with quite a strong identity already.
Yeah.
I was expecting it to be a bit harder than it has been.
Yeah.
No disrespect towards the other teams. It's not like other teams are bad. I think that we've just exceeded my own expectations. So now actually my expectations are starting to go up. Because when you come into a split with 4 rookies in a roster, yes, they're all insanely talented. Like, I think all of our players are crazy, crazy mechanically good. But you don't instantly expect to be top 3. And now I'm thinking, top 3 would be pretty nice.
Yeah, so which leads me to my final question, which is Mad Lions this split. You know, what would be, obviously winning it would be lovely, but, you know, what is the realistic goal that Mad Lions, you as South Carzzy, are setting for yourselves?
This split?
This split.
Well, I think top 3 at worst.
Oh.
And you know what?
Okay, I like those
I'm not even
words.
asking a follow-up question. That's a spicy little quote that will be thrown around next week. Top 3 at worst, ladies and gentlemen. That's Carzzy. That's the final words from him. And in fact, the key player of the game leaderboard, Perks, is leading, followed by Finn and Alfari. It is important, though, to note in the event of ties that the player with the highest amount of votes will come out on top. So we've got Perks holding 3. In fact, all of them looking pretty... sitting pretty.
Where are the Mad Lion players?
Where are the Mad Lions players? Yeah, what's going on?
Where are they?
Week 5.
I guess we're a balanced team. I guess everyone got 1 or something. I don't know.
That's obviously the problem. You're all having MVP performances. Well, guys, it's been an absolute honor. PGL, I think the final question that we have to end for this one is next week. I mean, we've probably got some ridiculous games coming up next week. In fact, actually, we can bring them up and I can pick your brain so I can see exactly what games are coming up, because the LEC returns for more action, starting with Mad Lions taking on Misfits.
Spicy.
So you've got a pretty tough one versus the Bunny. Two of the teams with those badass rookies this week are clashing next week. How are you feeling about that one, Mac?
You should hide your secrets. I can hide your secrets, man. I think when I look at this matchup, honestly, I think support and jungle is the heart and soul of the team. And I think you guys have a crazy strong support jungle. I think the Misfits one is also popping off. I think that's where everything gets decided. Because I think both of you guys, when you have leads, you know how to close out, you know how to play the 1-3-1, the 1-4. I think that comes from support jungle. So I think it will be a fantastic clash.
A fantastic clash, there's no doubt about it. But for now, over in Los Angeles, Broxah is making his debut for Team Liquid as they kick off week 4 of the LCS. After their games, you can catch the rebroadcast of the LEC. If you just joined us, you missed the fun. And for now, it's time to call it a night. We'll be back next Friday for more League of Legends. We'll see you then, and I'll see you some other time.
I kind of hijacked the point there. Sorry.
Still only level 5 on Steel Backhand on Schemes. Dan's gonna pop the world ender. Cocoon hits a minion. Dan able to flash away. Haymaker still connects. And Cabo pulled back with the Infernal Chains. A double kill coming for Femi as Dan just, he walks straight through Steel Back. The fight does nothing in this situation. Pulled back, goodbye. As the fight begins in the mid lane. Glacial Fisher coming out. Bandit's actually got quite low. Ensemble with the Moonlight Vigil. Being off towards the side, has a flank position. Suckley already down. And now Tricky shot into bother Finn. Doesn't have Baron, of course, because that's gone over to Schalke. But Jankos, oh, they found him out. Then he's dead. Flying away, the corner of Portugal. That's a lot of damage. Next is done. The fight. Oh, the doggy. Yeah, he gets the petrifying gaze, and the Ocean Soul goes over to Schalke. Already the Baron's down to 4,000. Corner of Portugal coming out. Dreams distracting Jankos. That should be Baron. It's Wonder. They're all coming in. The Nexus Tower's the target. That's going to open up on Wonder now as Perk steps forward. Oh no, on the chase, no flash for him, but the Infernal Chase. Loma Quicky is going to go far down next as well as Amarage. It's Dreams. Schalke, who better to beat for your first win of 2020?
That's a golden upset, but he's surrounded by members.
Look at the healing!
The healing!
What? They're going back in!
It's back to full health. This Toure, who started the fight, is now running to try to end it. Mickey goes down, Cagel goes golden. Baron's going low. This is so close! It was almost stolen, but it is Cersei that does pick it up. Now in the ensuing fight, Wish has already been used, but the heals are not enough to keep Destiny alive. The damage follow-up is though Cagel forced to Mickey! Mickey, you so fine! Panel Star, not enough damage just yet. Way beside step. Bwimbo with the blue suede shoes gets away. Knock up from Kaiser, manages to knock up Nemesis. Humanoid! It's running for his life. Repels up, goes down. All right, Reckless has already used the ultimate. But on the flank is coming in from behind. He manages to throw the ulti down, but Hillisang's already in trouble. He's just obliterated where he stands. Reckless will get taken out by Shadow. Mad Lions have done it. They've taken out Fnatic.